we are raised on a sentence that sounds sacred. Family is everything. It is supposed to be your first home, your safety net, your forever bond. We are told blood is thicker than water, that loyalty means staying, that walking away is selfish, dramatic, or ungrateful. But what happens when the place that was supposed to protect you becomes the place that slowly breaks you? All over the world, something quiet is happening inside families. Adult children are creating distance from parents. Siblings stop speaking. Relationships fade into silence. From the outside, it looks sudden, harsh, even cruel. But inside that, silence is rarely hatred. What lives there instead is survival. To understand family estrangement, we have to look beyond the moment contact stops, because estrangement almost never begins with one explosive fight. It begins with erosion. Not one dramatic event, but hundreds of small ones. A criticism disguised as concern. A joke that cuts a little too deep. A boundary pushed again and again. A feeling dismissed until you stop sharing it altogether. Psychology calls this cumulative emotional stress. Small wounds that feel too minor to confront alone, but together reshape your nervous system. You start preparing before visits. You rehearse conversations in your head. You shrink certain opinions. You monitor your tone. Over time, your body reacts before your mind does. Anxiety becomes normal. Tension becomes expected. Estrangement does not happen because someone stopped caring. It happens because someone ran out of capacity to keep absorbing pain. From the outside, distance looks sudden. Parents often say everything seemed fine. But pressure builds quietly. Think of a volcano. The eruption looks abrupt, but underground pressure has been forming for years. The final argument is rarely the true cause. It is the breaking point. The moment someone realizes they cannot keep carrying what has never been acknowledged. To one side, it feels like rejection over something small. To the other, it feels like decades finally speaking. Estrangement is not impulsive. It is cumulative. Inside many families, roles form early, not consciously, but powerfully. There is the golden child, praised for achievement and loyalty. The scapegoat, blamed for tension they did not create. The invisible child, who survives by asking for nothing. The parentified child, who becomes the emotional caretaker too soon. Psychology explains that in dysfunctional systems, stability is maintained through roles. When one person tries to step out of their assigned identity, the system resists because change threatens balance, even if that balance is unhealthy. Sometimes estrangement does not begin with leaving people. It begins with refusing the role. Some of the deepest family wounds are not loud. They are quiet absences. No curiosity about your inner world. No comfort when you were overwhelmed. No emotional attunement. This is emotional neglect, and it leaves no visible scars. As adults, people raised this way often look independent and capable, but internally there is an emptiness, a longing that never fully resolves. They keep returning, hoping this time will be different. Maybe this time they will listen. Maybe this time they will understand. But when the well has always been empty, returning becomes self-abandonment. Distance begins when hope becomes too painful to keep renewing. There's also something psychology calls trauma bonding. When hurt is mixed with brief warmth, apologies, or rare affection, the nervous system becomes attached to inconsistency. You wait for the good moments. You endure the bad ones. You believe if you try harder, things will change. Hope becomes loyalty. Endurance becomes love. Leaving feels impossible, not because it is healthy, but because it is familiar. Estrangement often begins the moment reality outweighs hope. One of the hardest parts is this. Many adult children were taught that protecting themselves is betrayal. Setting boundaries feels cruel. Creating distance feels disloyal. Choosing peace feels selfish. So they stay longer than they should. But eventually, a realization forms. If I stay, I disappear. When people hear no contact, they imagine revenge. But most distance is not fueled by anger. It is a survival strategy. Sometimes it starts with low contact, shorter calls, and fewer visits. Sometimes it becomes emotional neutrality, what psychologists call the gray rock method. reducing reactivity to avoid escalation. And sometimes, after every boundary has failed, it becomes complete distance. Not because love vanished, but because safety never arrived. When the nervous system finally relaxes, sometimes for the first time, relief and grief coexist. There's a specific kind of grief that follows estrangement. It is called ambiguous loss. You are grieving someone who is still alive. There is no funeral, no ritual, no social recognition. You are mourning the relationship you needed, not necessarily the one you had. Holidays can intensify it, and seeing others experience warmth that feels foreign can deepen it. Relief and guilt live side by side. Peace and sadness coexist. Then slowly something unexpected begins. Without constant tension, your real self starts surfacing. You begin asking new questions. What do I actually want? What feels safe to me? What beliefs are truly mine? Reclaiming identity is quiet work. You stop shrinking. You stop apologizing for existing. You stop filtering yourself through fear. For many, distance is not about breaking a family. It is about breaking a pattern. This ends with me. Estrangement is not always about hatred. Sometimes it is about redefining what family means. For some, family is who raised them. For others, family becomes who respects their boundaries and protects their peace. Walking away does not mean you are heartless. It means you stopped walking back into fire out of obligation. It means you chose healing over history. That choice is heavy, complicated, and deeply painful. But it can also be profoundly brave. If this silence feels familiar, you are not alone. You are allowed to grieve. You are allowed to grow. You are allowed to choose safety. And you deserve to heal.